The wind cut through the narrow streets of the city, rattling windows and whistling through the cracks of the old park benches. Rain had started to drizzle lightly, turning the sidewalks slick and gray. Amelia Torres hugged her thin jacket closer, shivering as she glanced around for a place to sit. She was 15, alone, and utterly exhausted. Her backpack weighed heavy on her shoulders, filled with the few things she still owned. Her mother had passed away last year, and her father, well, he didn't really exist in her life anymore. She had tried staying with her aunt, but work and family drama had made her feel like a burden. Today, she had left, looking for a quiet place to think, to rest, even if only for a few minutes. Her eyes settled on an old wooden park bench under a bare tree. It wasn't much, but it was dry. She trudged toward it, pulling her jacket tighter. As she sat down, she noticed her shoes were soaked, her socks damp, and her hands numb. A small shiver ran through her body. She pulled her knees up, resting her chin on them, staring at the wet pavement. Her eyes blurred with tears she refused to let fall. She didn't want anyone to see her like this. No one had ever cared enough to notice. She hadn't noticed him yet. Miles away from the boardrooms and luxury high-rises he was used to, Julian Harper, a man in his early 40s, walked briskly through the park. He wasn't wearing a suit, but his clothes were neat, and his posture radiated a quiet confidence. He had a gift. He could see people, really see them. And today, he saw someone sitting alone on a bench, shivering under the drizzle. Julian paused. There was something fragile about the way the girl hugged herself. Something that made him stop mid-step. "Excuse me," he said softly, approaching her. "Are you okay?" Amelia jumped, startled. She hadn't heard anyone approach. She shook her head quickly, trying to hide the truth behind a small, forced smile. "I'm fine," she whispered. "Really?" Julian knelt slightly, careful not to seem intimidating. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folded woolen blanket. "It doesn't look like it. Here, take this." Amelia blinked. I can't." "Please," he said gently. "Just for a few minutes." Reluctantly, she accepted it. The warmth hit her like sunlight on ice. She wrapped herself in it, letting it shield her from the cold and the storm. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel completely alone. Julian didn't sit with her. He didn't say much. He just left quietly, leaving the blanket behind. Amelia didn't even get his name. But the simple act of kindness lingered. The next few hours passed slowly, but with the blanket wrapped around her, Amelia felt safer. She watched people passing, couples laughing under umbrellas, children splashing in puddles. She felt invisible but not insignificant. By the time the sun peeked through the clouds, Amelia realized she had slept lightly on the bench. She awoke with warmth in her chest, a strange new feeling. Hope. She carefully folded the blanket and placed it in her bag. She didn't know who had given it to her, but she knew one thing. Someone had seen her, and that mattered. Days later, Amelia found herself back in the park, sitting on the same bench, thinking about her life, wondering if kindness existed in a world that often seemed cruel. She saw him again. Julian Harper. He wasn't the same distance-away figure from before. This time, he walked toward her deliberately. She felt a twinge of panic, unsure if he wanted something, or if she was about to be scolded for being in the park. Instead, he stopped a few feet away and smiled softly. "You're back," he said simply. Amelia nodded. I wanted to see the tree. It's nice here when it's quiet." He crouched slightly. "Do you come here often?" "Sometimes," she admitted. "It's the only place I can think." He reached into his bag again. This time it wasn't a blanket. It was a notebook, small, with a plain cover. "I thought you might like this," he said. "Draw, write anything you want. Sometimes it helps to put your thoughts somewhere safe." Amelia stared. "Why are you helping me?" Julian's eyes softened. "Because someone helped me once when I needed it, and I never forgot how much it mattered. You shouldn't have to feel invisible." Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. She took the notebook carefully. "Thank you." "You don't need to say more," Julian said. "Just use it." Over the next few weeks, Julian and Amelia developed a quiet routine. He didn't push, and she didn't have to explain herself. Sometimes he brought lunch. Sometimes he simply waved from a distance. Amelia filled the notebook with sketches, short stories, and fragments of her thoughts. Each time she wrote, she felt a little stronger. One afternoon, as she sketched a little girl holding a blanket on a rainy day, Julian noticed her pause. "What is it?" he asked gently. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "I've never felt like anyone believed I could be safe. Not really. Not in a long time." "You are safe," Julian said. "Right here. You're seen. And you're capable of so much more than you realize." Her chest tightened. The words were simple, but they held weight she hadn't felt in years. Then came the day when the park's fountain froze over with early winter frost. Amelia sat on the bench, drawing in her notebook, when Julian approached with a small bag. Inside were gloves, a warm hat, and socks. Things she desperately needed but was too proud to ask for. "I can't take all this," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You can," Julian replied. "And you should. It's not about charity. It's about caring. No one should be left out in the cold when there's warmth to share." Amelia hesitated, then accepted. Something inside her shifted. This wasn't about being pitied. It was about being noticed, being valued, being treated as someone who deserved comfort and protection. For the first time, she realized kindness wasn't just something that happened in stories. It was alive, tangible, and real, and it could change everything. Weeks later, Amelia's life began to stabilize. She stayed with a local mentor who helped her with school and life skills. She had friends. She had laughter. And through it all, she carried the blanket Julian had given her, the notebook, and the memory that one person, just one, had seen her, had believed in her, and had changed her perspective with simple, quiet acts of kindness. Amelia never forgot that day on the bench. She knew that someday, when she was able, she would pay it forward. Because kindness wasn't just a gift, it was a ripple, spreading quietly, one life at a time. The first snow of December drifted gently across the park, coating the ground in a soft white blanket. The world seemed quieter, more peaceful. Amelia pulled her borrowed wool hat lower over her ears as she sat on the old bench, the same bench where her entire life had taken a turn she never expected. It had been weeks since the day Julian Harper placed a blanket on her shoulders and walked away, unknowingly becoming the first person to make her feel seen in a long time. Weeks since he gave her the notebook that had become her lifeline. And weeks since she began believing she might actually have a future beyond wandering cold streets. Things were better now, but not perfect. She was staying at a youth program that provided temporary housing, warm meals, counseling, and support. It wasn't home, not yet, but it was safe. And safety was something she had never had enough of. She waited on the bench, sketching the way snowflakes seemed to glow under the street lamps. She had come to the park hoping to see Julian again, just to say thank you properly. But he hadn't appeared in days. She wondered if she had imagined him, like some kind of guardian spirit who appeared when she needed him most. But then she heard footsteps crunching through the snow. She looked up. There he was. Julian approached with a small smile tugging at his lips. Today, he wore a simple coat, scarf, and gloves. No sign of the powerful CEO that the world knew. Just a kind man, hands in his pockets, looking genuinely happy to see her. "Hi, Amelia," he said warmly. Her heart softened. She stood up quickly. I thought maybe you weren't coming back." Julian chuckled lightly. "I had some things to take care of, but I promised myself I'd check in on you." Amelia nodded, trying to hide how relieved she felt. "I'm doing okay." "I can see that," Julian said, noticing her healthier skin, brighter eyes, and new jacket, the one the youth center provided. "You look stronger." "I feel stronger," she admitted. There was a pause, gentle and comfortable. "Walk with me?" Julian asked. She nodded, and they began strolling along the snow-covered path. A caring conversation. "How have things been at the youth center?" Julian asked. Amelia shrugged. "It's nice. The people there try. And I'm grateful. But sometimes I feel like I don't belong anywhere." Julian hummed thoughtfully. Belonging takes time. Not because you're unworthy of it, but because healing takes time. She looked up at him. Do you think I'll ever have a real home? He stopped walking. His voice was soft. Yes. I do. Amelia wanted to believe him. Then Julian said something that surprised her. You deserve stability, education, opportunity, and, most importantly, you deserve people who believe in you. She kicked at a small pile of snow. I just don't know how to start. You already did, Julian said. By surviving. By showing up here, day after day. By allowing yourself to hope again. Amelia blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. He noticed. Amelia, he said gently, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. I've been overwhelmed, too. She looked at him with disbelief. You? But you're, successful. Julian laughed quietly. Success doesn't protect people from pain. I've felt lost before. I've needed help before. And someone showed up for me. That's why I'm showing up for you. Her breath caught. It wasn't pity. It wasn't charity. It was understanding. The plan he never expected to make. They sat on a bench near a frozen pond, watching children try to skate on the ice. Julian cleared his throat. I have a question for you. Amelia turned to him. Okay, what do you want to do? Not tomorrow. Not next week. But in life. She thought for a moment. I like drawing, she said. A lot. It helps me feel like things make sense. I wish I could get better at it. Maybe even study it one day. She sighed. But that's just a dream. Dreams, Julian said, are where everything begins. She smiled sadly. Dreams are expensive. Julian leaned forward. What if I told you? I want to help you chase yours? Amelia blinked fast. What do you mean? Julian hesitated for a moment, not because he doubted what he wanted to offer, but because he knew his words would change the course of her life. Amelia, he said gently, I promise you something. I will help you get the education you deserve. Her eyes widened. Wait, what? I want to sponsor your schooling. All of it. Supplies, tutoring, mentoring, whatever you need. You have talent. You just haven't been given a fair chance. Amelia's breath came out shaky. Why? She whispered. Why would you do that for me? Julian looked at her, eyes full of sincerity. Because someone once did it for me, he said. And because you remind me of the kid I used to be, alone, scared, unsure of where life was leading. And because kindness shouldn't end with one blanket on one rainy day. It should grow. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes. Julian, that's too much. I can't. You can, he said firmly. And you deserve it. She wiped her face with her sleeve. But what if I fail? Then you try again, Julian said. And again. Until you succeed. Taking the first step. The next day, Julian brought her to a community art center. Inside, warm lights glowed across rows of easels, sketches, vibrant paintings pinned to walls, and a few students working quietly at their desks. Amelia's eyes widened. This place is amazing. Julian smiled. It's where I used to go when I was young. I thought maybe you'd like it too. A tall woman with curly hair and kind eyes approached. Julian Harper. I haven't seen you in years. This is Amelia, Julian said. She's talented. And I want her to join your classes. The woman studied Amelia's notebook, flipping through pages filled with sketches, careful pencil strokes, emotional scenes, moments of loneliness and hope. Her voice softened. You're very gifted, the instructor said. I'd be honored to teach you. Amelia looked overwhelmed. Julian placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. Not to control, but to support. You don't have to decide today. Just try one class. Amelia nodded slowly. I'll try. A new beginning. A week later, Amelia was standing in front of an easel in the art studio. Her hand trembled as she held a pencil, but when she looked at the blank paper, she remembered the blanket, the notebook, the kindness that began everything. She began to draw. The first line was shaky, the second stronger. Soon, she lost herself in her work. Julian watched from the doorway, smiling quietly, proud. not of her talent, but of her courage. Over the next few months, everything changed. Amelia grew confident. Her art improved rapidly. Her teachers praised her focus. She started dreaming again, not empty dreams, but real goals. Julian didn't hover. He didn't try to fill the role of a parent or a savior. He simply supported from the background, attending school meetings, cheering her on, making sure she had what she needed. And slowly, Amelia began to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Belonging. She wasn't a shadow anymore. She wasn't alone. She had a future, and she was the one shaping it. The drawing that changed everything. One evening, Amelia handed Julian a carefully folded paper. "What's this?" he asked. "Something I made," she said shyly. He unfolded it. It was a drawing of a park bench, a drizzle of rain, a soaked, shivering girl, and a stranger placing a blanket gently over her shoulders. The stranger's face wasn't detailed, but the kindness in his posture was unmistakable. Julian swallowed hard. "This is beautiful," he whispered.